Welcome to The Bottom Line, where we examine trending and important news. Article 211 of the Constitution empowers the President to appoint a person substantively to the office of Commissioner of Police or to act in that office. In either event, the Constitution imposes on the President a duty to consult with the Leader of the Opposition before such an appointment can be made. At the time, the members of the PNC, the main party in the opposition coalition, were at each other's throats for the position of leader of the PNC and, by extension, leader of the opposition, a post which was left vacant for some time.
The people of Guyana are not at fault. The government of Guyana is not at fault. The president certainly is not at fault. The then person performing the office of the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Hoppy, he proceeds on pre-retirement leave, so there is a vacancy. The President looks around because the Constitution says that he must consult. There is no one to consult, and the President now has to make a judgment call.
Because of this anomaly, President Dr. Irfan Ali proceeded to appoint Mr. Clifton Hicken to act in the office of Commissioner of Police.
The President of Guyana is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. He is the Minister with responsibility for national security and the defense of Guyana. The Home Affairs Minister is the one who has responsibility for the police force. The police force has statutory responsibility and constitutional responsibility for the defense of Guyana, for the enforcement of all laws, for the prosecution and detection of all crimes committed. And the police commissioner has a multitude of functional responsibilities under the Police Act and under dozens of pieces of legislation across the legislative landscape of the country. National security now, internal security are all at stake.
Following Hicken's selection, Opposition Chief Whip in the National Assembly, Christopher Jones, filed proceedings challenging the President's appointment. This was a case that should never have been filed due to the fact that the vacancy in the office of the Leader of the Opposition was by the PNC's own making. This case was, however, dismissed by the Chief Justice. The AG explained.
The Chief Justice used the word disingenuous 3 times to describe their case. The Chief Justice said that their case was incongruous. The Chief Justice said that their case was vexatious. The Chief Justice said that their case was an abuse of the process. And in the end, the Chief Justice said that costs will be awarded, which costs are to be assessed unless an agreement is arrived at by the end of this month. Costs to be assessed can run into millions of dollars. I say all of that to demonstrate to you the type of case that they presented. We couldn't find a case where the person to be consulted was not in office, because no sensible person would file proceedings in relation to an appointment when the person to be consulted is not present or not appointed. What kind of case are you filing?
Consultation is not a one-way street. Parties engaging have a duty to be willing participants in the consultation process. Phase 1 of the President's Youth Advisory Council was recently launched. The Advisory Council is the fulfillment of a manifesto commitment by the PPPC administration. The President's Youth Advisory Council is made up of young people from across Guyana, from various backgrounds, with a wide array of skill sets. President Ali told members of the Advisory Council that they are living in a country that will be among the best by the year 2030.
It is important that young people are involved in the definition and the implementation of the policies and programs that are aimed at taking us to a place that we term development. You will inherit a future never seen before. But you will also inherit some circumstances that you have to be aware of. I said to the young people today that there will be a new generation of Guyanese who would never know what struggle is, or who may never know what sacrifices are, because they will be coming into a new Guyana, into a different Guyana. That is why this Youth Council and the work you do is so critical.
The Advisory Council will operate at every single level of national life. There will be representation in every region and district, supporting and working along with the Office of the President. Members of the Advisory Council will not be spectators, but actively participate in the development of Guyana in every aspect. The head of state urged the council members to focus on the goals they want to achieve and not pay attention to the noise that will come from naysayers.
What we are looking for is giving your best effort, putting your best foot forward. Regardless of what we do in life, we will never achieve perfection. Someone will always be affected negatively with what we do. I say to these young people, focus. By the end of today, you will hear a lot of noise. Erase the noise. Focus on what we spoke about this morning. Focus on the task ahead. Focus on your country. Focus on the future. Focus on the legacy you want to leave. Focus on what you want to do, what you have committed yourself to do. Do not focus on the noise. The day we allow ourselves to focus on the noise is the day we allow the noise to control us. Never allow the noise to control you.
We from Baracara, we welcome you. When you come to see our need, President Ali, we welcome you.
President Dr. Irfan Ali told residents of Baracara and neighboring communities in Kanji Creek, East Berbice, that the PPPC government would work hand in hand with them to ensure that they benefit from development opportunities. After listening to concerns of residents, the head of state assured them of assistance in several areas, including access to the internet, the provision of drainage and irrigation equipment, and assistance with livestock farming and other agricultural opportunities. Residents expressed their willingness to work with the government in the development of their community.
Your presence today makes us very happy because you have created history. Today's visit will be etched in our minds forever. There are no strangers here, Your Excellency. Everyone here is a friend. We welcome you today with hearts filled with desires, hopes, and dreams that we all share. To say that we are thrilled is an understatement. To be specific, today is the day when we begin to look through the eyes of others, that is the eyes of the PPPC. It is also the day we grow bigger than our differences as we work together in shared goals and aspirations to create a one Guyana.
A follow-up meeting will be held shortly to identify areas to further assist the community.
Today you have renewed in me the burning desire. You have demonstrated to me today that the message that I've been leading all across this country, that the message that I believe in with every single ounce of energy and blood that resides in me, that the message that I want to be translated into action, that the message that we are poorer when we are not together, and we are richer when we are together. that the message of one Guyana has reached the banks of Barakara, and you have taken that message with love and care. And you are demonstrating today how important that message is for the upliftment of all Guyana.
Political activist David Hines struggled to defend the APNU plus AFC government's track record and accusation that he provokes race hate and racial animosity during a heated discussion with fellow political analyst Freddie Kissoon on the Gildhari Freddie Kissoon Show. As the show opened, Kissoon immediately called out Hines, accusing him of peddling racial sentiment along with other members of the APNU-AFC coalition. According to Kissoon, in his 50-odd years as a political, social, and human rights activist, he has not seen anyone so persistently invoke race hate as much as Hines.
I say this, David, from the bosom of my heart. I have not seen even in the bad days with the UC Guyana and Hamilton Green, I have not seen anyone that have so consistently preached a diatribe, a sermon, a rhetoric that invokes race hate. I would think, David, you are the most consistent preacher of ethnic animosity in this country, and I say that with candid political conviction.
Hines is a member of the Working People's Alliance, a former member of their Partnership for National Unity Coalition, which is headed by the People's National Congress Reform. The coalition served in government from 2015 until it was voted out of office in 2020, after a failed attempt to rig the general elections that year. Hines on several occasions made public his support for those implicated in the worst elections rig attempt recorded in history.
And I know when you tell me a man stand up with a piece of paper and he given wrong number and you call that rigging, I know that ain't rigging. So I refuse to say Mingo rig.
Dr. Hines was also asked to justify the WPA's joining of the coalition government. That included the PNCR, which was responsible for the assassination of Dr. Walter Rodney in June 1980.
The PNC leadership is responsible for Rodney's murder. That's our position then, our position now, and our position tomorrow.
Kissoon said the opposition's love for Afro-Guyanese is not illustrated beyond words, as he called out Hines and the APNU plus AFC for doing nothing for Afro-Guyanese during their 5-year reign in government.
But there is more on the masturbatory relation between the WPA and the PNC. One, he loves black people. And yet today, he was part of a government with the famous Rupert Narayan and Clive Thomas, who were revolutionaries that when you were small admired, and that I took part in their activities. They were in power for 5 years. You know why he gets up here and say, I love black people? That's the only thing they got. You know, every time they speak about black people, that's the only thing they got to fool black people.
This African.
That's the only thing they got to fool. They ain't got any other thing to hold on for. For 5 years, Clive Thomas, David Granger, who edited a book on black history, for 5 years they failed black people. So guess what happened? They fooled black people on the elections. They fooled black people about legislation to empower them. So guess what happened? They've reached the end. It's diminishing return of promises. So if you look carefully at every program he has, every time there's an African Day, we got to get our share of this country. It's the only mantra, it's the only sermon they have to tell black people anything. They can't tell black people anything. He can't sit down here tonight and say what the WPA has done for black people 2015 to 2020. Nothing, absolutely nothing.
Tell them you were part of the WPA.
And that's the bottom line.